His name is Curtis Sturrock. There's not much that he won't mock, but he'll talk to his friends about sex and rear ends. Yeah, it's wrestling with myself. Some know him as Scotty O'Shea, and he's really into ass play. Steve Brown tags along and Mello wrote this song. It's wrestling with myself, wrestling with myself. Sometimes he does it by himself, discussing wrestling and movies, drugs, hookers, and boobies. It's wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. On a Friday night, he's got his fleshlight. It's wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. Discussing wrestling and movies, drugs, hookers, and boobies. It's wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. Whoa, wrestling with myself. Discussing wrestling and movies, drugs, hookers, and boobies. It's wrestling with myself.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode, actually episode 25 of the Big Ben and Friends podcast. And today, we're doing a bit of a Swapcast here. So we are actually on...
Wrestling with myself as well.
Excellent. I thought you had something a little bit more lined up than that, but that's okay.
Nope, sorry about that.
We were actually discussing our lack of professionalism and preparation before this, just because I'm pretty sure that Kurt has the exact same preparation going into these things that I do now, which is no preparation. And it seems to be the most, it seems to be the thing that works the most. But we do have a theme going into this today that I'm pretty fucking stoked about. We are going to, like men, we're going to have some cigars and we're going to catch up like old friends, because I haven't seen Hacker in fucking over a year easily.
It's got to be over a year now.
Easily over a year. Like, I legit don't remember when the last time I saw you was. So like the last time that I was even really at a show was like a show that you would have even been at. Did you do that? You didn't do the Family Day Feud, or when was the last show you worked for me?
I couldn't tell you. I'm terrible with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so am I. And it's funny because I get grief about that sometimes. People are just like, wait, you don't know your own product? And it's just like, I have booked and produced over 60 shows.
Yeah, exactly. They blend.
They all blend, just because the like say 36 of them were showcase series shows, and the amount of times that I went into that with a game plan was like the first few, until I realized how horrible of an idea that was, and because everybody could cancel and you couldn't be mad at them because it was just like their showcase series shows, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of learn to like book very, very last minute for those, but then you kind of learn there's this weird adaptation system here. But one thing I needed to ask you about, just because I am kind of a new cigar guy myself. You seem to be a bit more of a weathered cigar smokesman. You've got the beautiful jacket.
A little bit, not much.
You have the beautiful jacket to go with the gimmick. I appreciate it. I've got myself here. This is the first time I will ever have smoked a torpedo. So my question is that there's not really a certain way to have to cut that, is there? I'm sure you just kind of just get the little nub off?
That's all I ever do. It's hard with torpedoes. Typically, I'll take my cutter, I'll place it on a flat surface, put my cigar in the cutter there, and then you cut off. Ooh. And then you cut off as little as possible. A torpedo, it's hard because it's more of a sharp edge. Yeah. But with most things, I try to make cigars last longer than I probably should. So I usually cut off as little as possible.
Okay. And what do you got going on there? What are you smoking?
This is a Village Cigar house blend cigar. They're cheaper. I spend too much money on cigars, and then I finally found these ones. And they're just house blends. They're good, and they're cheaper than usual. And then I was just informed a couple weeks ago that the house blend that they're actually from is Rocky Patel. So it's actually an unnamed Rocky Patel cigar. So I've been loving these lately, and they're saving me a lot. These are like $10 a stick, as opposed to like 14, 16, 18, $20.
Yeah, and they look hand rolled. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, these are torpedo too. I don't know what these are called. They're like the double torpedo, like the sausage link.
Yeah, because that's what I was actually about to ask that. I'm like, that almost looks like a blunt.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it looks like a
Yeah,
really
this ends
fat
like
blunt.
pigtailed. Yeah. But you got the American Rebel. I've wanted that forever. I've never had one. I got to order one day.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next time that I head down to Burlington, I will shoot you a message and I'll see if you're around because if you are, come meet up and I'll hook you up with them.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah,
Like
absolutely. I'll trade you. I'll give you one of mine for one of yours.
Yeah, that'd be great. I got an 8 sampler pack or whatever, and I mean, I kind of got it for like the novelty, and I mean, I only need a few. I'm not a huge cigar guy, but I gifted one to like 2 different friends of mine now, just because I know that they're pretty much in the same boat as you. It's just like, oh man, like how could you not want to try it? Like you're in the wrestling business, like I mean, yeah. It's just that the math all adds up, right? I mean, and the cool thing is and I've noticed this is something that you do as well, is like even just for the novelty of keeping the wrap afterwards.
Oh yeah.
You know, which is
I have like
nice.
every band. I'd say I have 95% of every band I've ever smoked.
Really?
I take it off and I keep every one. Yeah, I have like a shadow box filled, and then since then, I have probably filled like it's probably a 12-inch by 12-inch shadow box, maybe an inch thick. That is jam full, and then on top of that, I probably have 2 cigar boxes. Like they are overflowing. I smoke way more than I let on.
That is hilarious. I remember you told me that like you had a humidor like full of them, but you didn't tell me that you had 2 of them, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah.
Like
I got
how
3
big though?
humidors
Like
full.
Really? Like the little box ones, or?
I have 2 of like the desktop ones, like that most people have, and then I have a bigger one that I inherited. My uncle died, and then just as he died, I was getting into cigars, and then his wife was just like, my aunt, I guess, was just like, "Do you want his cigars? They're all from Cuba." And I was like, "Yeah, give them to me." And it was literally like a treasure chest full of just Cuban cigars thrown in there. And then I told Shooting the Indies Jeff Cole about it, and he was like, "That's like $6,000 worth of cigars you just inherited," and I had no idea.
Really? Oh, so he was balls awesome. Deep in there with you, I'm sure, because I mean, he's a bit of a aficionado himself, you could say.
For a while, I was just like, I was overwhelmed. So people would come over, I'd be like, "Here, have this Cuban, have this Cuban, have this Cuban," and he was the one being like, "Those are $40 each. Give them something shitty and enjoy those." So like those Cubans, I only smoke once in a while now. I try to actually have a special occasion to smoke them.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, just because I've like Tid bought me the humidor for Christmas, and he ended up kind of getting me one of those, like I think it was like a $12 or $14 stick, just to go with it, because in his words, he's like, you can't give a kid a wallet without a few bucks in it, right? So he hooks me up.
That is very true.
It is true. So I enjoyed that one though, and it was a Nicaraguan one, and so I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna invest in a couple of nice cigars, and then I'm gonna have my like shitty $10 ones that I can still enjoy whenever it's just like, you know what? I need a goddamn stick. And it's the matter of finding that nice little balance, I find.
I think like I'm still pretty new at the whole cigar thing, but I've had a ton in a short amount of time. And at the end of the day, it's either like when people are like, "Oh, I taste hints of chocolate and leather." Every cigar I've ever smoked tastes like a fucking cigar.
Yeah.
There's a little bit difference to them, but not big.
I will tell you what the biggest difference is for me that I've personally found is that some, you can tell the ones that are shitty, because like whenever you go to like inhale them, you're just like, you got it, like you've got like pieces of tobacco in there. It kind of tastes dry. And I've found that like I like a nice humid cigar. So that's why they're in the Bovita pack, and like, you know, and that's why you have, you know, humidors in the first place, for crying out loud. But oh man, so tell you what, Hack, give me 1 second here. Let's light one up, shall we?
Please. My mouth has been watering.
I'm not gonna lie, might as well.
I'm very anal on my cigar burn. So you'll probably catch me doing it every 2 minutes. I'll not relight it, but I hate when it starts burning uneven. So I'm going to be doing that constantly.
No, that's all good. The funny thing is I actually I found one of those torch cigars not too long ago and tried it out with my first cigar, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is great. And then it burnt out. So
Oh yeah, I know. I got them all over the house now.
now I'm assuming that you've got one of these nice little stash trays.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I was actually gifted this old school.
Oh,
ashtray.
that is a baller ass ashtray.
And what's holding my iPad up right now is this guy, which is another ashtray, which I'm currently fixing. I apologize.
That's all right, man.
But yeah,
I mean-
part of the reason I got into cigars was well, there's a few, but one of my favorite things was like all the trinkets and shit like this. Like I really fell in love with different lighters and different cutters and the ashtrays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of just the charm with it for me, on top of smoking them.
Right. So let's get to some business here, Hacker. How the fuck you been, pal?
I've been very good, honestly. This pandemic, a lot of people have been having a hard time. It's been, regrettably to say, not regrettably, but it's been the best year of my life for multiple reasons. So, like, I have nothing to complain about. I'm very, I'm a bit of a shut-in as is. I don't go out places. People come to me, and I've been fortunate that throughout all this, I've had a lot of people come over and hang out with me. I got married. I got my wife pregnant. It's just been good. I got nothing else. It's been going very well. So
I got married, slip one past the fucking goalie, fucking chilling.
Yeah, I'd feel guilty if I was to say anything negative, honestly. So I'm not going to. But yeah, this year's been shit for a lot of people. Luckily for me, selfishly for me, it's been very good. Haven't wrestled as much as I've wanted to, but I've also enjoyed some downtime.
You've gotten to wrestle those. How often? I obviously I saw that you did Albright's thing, which was fucking brilliant, by the way.
That's where I got this coat. Actually, this is the coat I bought for it.
I really, really enjoyed that, and I was so proud of Albright for numerous reasons throughout that whole project. Obviously, there's for layers of different reasons. But what else have you wrestled for? NSW, is that correct?
Yeah, I probably had. So, I feel like the pandemic, it didn't lift, but it kind of eased out. Summerish, July. And then it kind of came back hard end of November, December. So between those couple months, I probably had 10 to 12 matches. So it kind of satiated the thirst I had for a while. And so that was fucking awesome. We're allowed to swear?
Yeah. Dude, do you think that I could actually... You've known me for how long? Do you think that I could actually have a fucking podcast if I wasn't able to slip that out? Because
that's true. I'd hate to be that guy an hour and a half in to be like, yeah, by the way, we weren't supposed to swear on this YouTube.
But I also I actually know how to edit now. So at one point in time, somebody said that one of the bad names that I don't allow in the podcast, and that was how I learned how to bleep and put a shit emoji over somebody's face.
So honestly, it's been good. I've just been dealt a good hand. I'm very fortunate. How about you? Minus, I understand the wrestling and what was announced today, your gym having to close and whatnot. But if you were to put that aside, has it been an okay year?
It's been a weird one. It's been a difficult one for here's the thing. Has it been difficult in in certain ways? Yes. Have I been very, very fortunate in other ways? Absolutely. For the first few weeks, I think just like everybody else, we were all a little petrified. We didn't know what was going on. The uncertainty was a little much. And I'll be honest with you, being at work, especially with what I do, because I drive a truck and I deliver places, and going to all these different spots didn't really seem like the safest thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I was certainly a little nervous. Now, once I want to say it was probably about 2, maybe 3 weeks in. I don't want to say who. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but it was a wrestler that had put onto I believe their Facebook or something like that, that they were just going through some real hard financial times. And that they're just like, man, I don't know when this is going to get any better. And then it dawned on me that, oh, I'm actually lucky that I'm working right now. Like there's a lot of people who aren't working, and we've all been pushing like to go home and to not work because we didn't know what was happening. So once I realized that maybe I was actually a little better off in that regard than others, I was like, it dawned on me very quickly. I was like, okay, I got to be appreciative of this. And you know, we were able to keep the gym open for Christ all year. And then next thing you know,
Next thing you
Puff,
know, I pop up.
what's going on, buddy?
Holy moly. I'm so sick of this guy.
The funny
We
thing
did a
is,
podcast.
We just
5
did a
minutes
podcast.
ago.
I didn't tell Ben.
oh, that's funny because Puff and I have been trying to do a podcast for like weeks now. And
That's what I told Hacker.
I was going to shit on him for kayfabing you.
I would have too. Thank you very much for that. And then next thing I know, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to message him and see just by chance. I'm like, hey, what are you doing right now? You want to do a run in? He's like, give me like 10 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
perfect. Let's do
Ben,
this.
let me spoil something for you. Puff is never busy, okay? If he says he's busy, he's flat out lying, okay?
Uh-oh. We're tossing dukes already.
I said the same thing to Ben, and it just so happened like the day that we were gonna do something, I had nothing going on, but I randomly decided to drive to Pennsylvania with my buddy, and that's what kept us from doing that podcast the other day.
But hey, look, here we are. We
And
got a
now
fucking
here I am.
twofer.
Here we are.
Running in on Hacker. Oh, sorry.
In the heart of San Francisco.
Anti-hero. So sorry.
I should have let you in on
thank
the
you,
gag here, just because we're enjoying a fine little cigar here, both of us, and perhaps we could have let you in. But
He's more of a meat stick guy.
I'm a meat stick guy.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. You gotta enjoy what you gotta enjoy.
Okay, Ben, I gotta talk to you for a minute. I want to know
Let's go.
everything. Everything you know about Kenny Omega.
Oh God. What do you want to know?
I want to know everything
close
because you
friends?
wrestled the guy. You went on tour with him, didn't you?
Yeah, like this was like when we were very, very young. Like, I mean, you remember back, it was like 2005, I think it was, when I did the Northern Hell Tour for the Tony Condello Hell Tour. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, Puff, just because I don't know how much Americans pay attention to that one, but bit of a bigger tour up
I don't know
here.
anything about the Hell Tours, but before I went to Grapplers and started training like at a real place, I was told that like that was the goal in wrestling, to go to work these Canadian Hell Tours. It's just like you and another wrestler, and you just do the same match in all these towns. And I was like,
it was this odd badge of honor is kind of how I looked at it anyway, just because like, you know, Jericho, Edge, Christian, Lance Storm, Callis, like all of the guys who got big from Canada kind of went through this pipeline, you know what I mean? So it was almost kind of like we felt like, hey, if we go through this pipeline, maybe it'll help me. I mean, it seemed to do okay things for this guy.
Sure.
And plus, Tony Condello used to be like a promoter for the WWF back in the day. So like when they were doing the loops and stuff like that, obviously, you know, they need somebody to have their feet on the ground in town, right? So Condello was like the local promoter back in the day. So smart dude. So anyway, I got booked on this tour like unbelievably last minute. And when I say last minute, I mean, like I got called, like the day that I got called, Vance, Nevada, he's just like, hey, what are you doing right now? I was like, I'm sitting in an internet cafe in Hamilton. And he's like, can you get to Winnipeg tonight? Like, I don't fucking know. So I looked up flights. I couldn't get there until the morning.
Jesus.
Thankfully, Luke Hancock was a sweetheart, allowed me to, I'm pretty sure it was him. He allowed me to put the flight onto his credit card because I didn't have one at the time. And then he drove me to the airport because he knew how important it was to me. So we got down there in the morning, and my plan and my goal was, I knew that Chi-Chi Cruz was on that tour. And I don't know if you know who he is, Puff, but he is a Canadian wrestling fucking legend.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, I gotta go, and I gotta get a chance to wrestle that guy. So I get down there, and then they
Can I
already
ask how long into wrestling were you at this point?
about I was 4 years into wrestling at this point.
Okay.
So still very, very new. And I get there, and the spot was kind of like everything was already put together. And then as soon as I showed up there, I was kind of like, hey, what am I, what's going on for the tour? And it was actually a very, very young Danny Duggan, who was about as jacked as this cigar at the time. And he came up to me, he's like, yeah, you're going to be wrestling Kenny Omega this tour. And I was like, oh, fuck, I wanted to wrestle Chi-Chi Cruz. And I'm like, who's Kenny Omega? And he's just like, who's like the top guy around your area? I was like, Showtime Eric Young. He's like, he's the Showtime Eric Young of Winnipeg. I was like, oh, shit, okay. Let's fucking
That's
go.
huge. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah. So next thing I know, we get to the first town or whatever. We start talking about matches, and you have to keep in mind, like, the way that I was brought up was very fucking old school. Like, I mean, I was taught to really embrace that old school mentality, that old school style. And I was kind of taught to like dislike the new school style at that time that was kind of starting to kind of break through. And Kenny Omega was very much that the Kenny Omega back in the fucking day. Like he was the same dude.
That's cool.
To his credit. So we're putting matches together, and like we're getting into like an argument now at this point, because I'm like, I don't believe in this stuff, and he's like, well, I don't believe in your stuff. And then we went out and we're starting to get physical the first night because we just weren't really working with each other, but at the same time kind of we're fighting one another. So it turned into something kind of cooler. And then once we both realized at the end of that day, we're just like, oh shit, okay, I'm starting to pay attention now. And then by the end of that tour, because you have to keep in mind that I wrestled him 2 times every show. We wrestled in a singles match to start the show off, and then I beat him because I was the heel. And then we did a tag match in the main event where it was me and one of Don Callis' students against Kenny Omega and a midget with boxing gloves on.
What?
And yeah. So like Kenny would say like, oh, I got this fucking partner, I'm gonna go get him and we're gonna kick the shit out of you. And like he would claim like he's got like this big bad dude, and then he would come out with nobody, and then he would go back, and then Bruce would fucking sit on his shoulders, and he would come out with boxing gloves, and that would be like the entrance, and that was kind of the gag, right? So by the end of that tour, I think it was maybe like the second or third last night of the tour, him and I got fucking into it. Like I think there was like a rib that was I was the guy that got ribbed on that tour, just because like I was freaking the fuck out on some stuff, and rightfully so, to be the guy that got ribbed. And I snapped on them, and then next thing I know, we were doing the match that night, and he does now, like he gave me a belly to back, but he like scooped me on my brains, and I was not prepared for it, and I thought that he was trying to hurt me. So like next thing I know, like we're fucking like fighting, and this is the first match. We still got to do the tag match. So we go into separate locker rooms, because the way that they had it was they had a heel and a babyface locker room. So we get into the locker room, and Chi-Chi Cruz, who was in the heel locker room, because he could sense something was up, so he comes over to me and he's like, "You okay, kid?" I was like, you go over there and you tell Kenny that he best fucking, like, I don't care if he wants to wrap up, but we're fucking going. Like, I'm gonna knock that motherfucker's ass out. And he calmed me down. And then we went out and got what we needed to get out of our system. And next thing you know, we had the best match that we'd ever had, like, on that tour. And we got back to the back at the end of it, and we were just like, "You good? Yep. You good? Yep." And I was like, okay. Next thing I know, we had like 2 or 3 more nights, and it was just a blast. And it was that moment that my mindset on wrestling completely fucking changed. Like that was when I came back, and that was when I met you and and Alex. Was literally right afterwards. Like I got back, and the first thing I did once I got back to Hamilton was I started to go to LLW, and that's when I met you guys. And I was like, oh, I gotta because you know damn well, just like everybody else does, who was there back in the day, you two had a very difficult time when you first started just because of your size alone. Had nothing to do with anything else but other than your size.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt obligated to stick up for you guys because like, oh, these guys are fucking sweet, to the point where Puff, you'll like this. We used to wrestle in front of fucking nobody in the LLW arena. So Hacker didn't trust a lot of the guys that he was wrestling to catch him, just because everybody there was kind of scrawnier kind of guys. So I would literally do run-ins on his matches to catch his dive, and then just to make sure that he was safe, and then I would run back to the locker room.
Most of those dives were on to Steve Brown too, so there wasn't really an excuse not to be caught. He just chose not to.
Steve Brown, he never catches. Dude, I did a dive. I dropped right on my head because of Steve Brown.
I remember.
I was out for a few weeks.
I remember. I remember, Ben, you were always cool with me and Alex, but you were like, I don't want to say you weren't mean at all. That's the wrong word. I just don't have a vocabulary. Like stern because of our size. And looking back, it was warranted. And this was right when we met, by the way, right when we met. And then I remember we had a match. It was me and Alex versus you and Brett Scholl, maybe.
Yep.
And I remember Brett fucked up constantly. And we came to the back, and it was like, you were so glowing about me and Alex. And then you're like, don't let me talk to fucking Brett Scholl, though. Like, you were fucking furious with him.
Okay, so I want to add on to that, because the reason why I was so glowing with you guys is because when we got there to the building early to talk about the match, and Brett was kind of a superstar in his own mind and showed up really late.
Yeah.
So we took great offense to that. And we literally, the game plan of the match was, how do we just have the three of us in the match and keep Brett out? And and that's exactly what we did. And like, I just remember telling you guys to add on to the whole size thing. I was just like, listen, I'm bigger than you guys. When you hit me, I need you to fucking hit me, please, with everything you got, because it would look weird if I didn't try to swat the shit out of you. So
absolutely.
So it didn't make any sense for you to not throw everything you had at me. Which maybe kind of got me a bad reputation, because I think people thought that I was trying to fight people for real, and maybe I was trying to hurt people. But
no,
I was really just trying to help them, and I think it did, because I remember we had a fucking banger that night, and and we even got one up on Scholl because we kept him out of the match the whole time. So it was a two.
I remember that match because it was right when LLW got the new ring, and it was like a cloud with springs. Like, it was too cushioned and too bouncy. And I remember, I think you and Alex gave me and Alex a double superplex. And I remember hitting the ground, bouncing up so high that my body did a complete twist. Like, I landed on my back, bounced up, twisted, and came back on my back, like a full 360. Like, I did like a spiral tap from the bottom.
Yeah.
Yo, Hacker doing this podcast from that shed.
He went into slow motion for a minute. Yeah.
Oh, did I really? I'm sorry.
No, that's all good, man. It's okay.
I'm gonna leave this running though, because I'm doing something with my little brother right now.
But hey, man, just wanted to say hello and have you on here, and I'm happy you popped in, dude.
We'll do a full one sometime soon, tomorrow, whenever you're free next.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, I'm always immediately when you're gonna film a podcast, just hit me up and I'll probably be available.
Hey, I've realized that this seems to be a winning theory here. So yeah, I got it. I got it. You enjoy the rest of your night, Puff, and we'll talk soon.
You too.
Later, buddy.
I can't even leave. Hold on. Oh shit. I died.
Peace, nerd.
I'm playing a game. There we go.
Leave so we can shit talk you.
There you go. Yeah, dude, I remember that match so fucking much, dude. That was kind of like how I think our friendship started, was really that night.
Absolutely. Going back, not to be a fucking mark, but I am totally interested.
Yeah.
Do you have? Did you stay in contact with Kenny at all after that, or was it kind of just after the tour? Because like the internet was around, but it wasn't like it was now.
We kept in like
Was it just like separate ways type deal?
Like we kept in light contact because I don't even know if you know this or not, but there was a show that we did for the Squared Circle. It was like the Toronto Man Show back in the day.
I remember it.
Did you do it?
No. I was way too young. Was that the one with like Jarrett and Rhino?
I don't remember them being there. No.
Maybe I don't remember it then. I do remember something like that, but
I just remember like I'm back getting ready for a match, and next thing I know, I'm pacing back and forth, and then there's like a back door where people were like the boys were coming in and out of, right? And like you pace one way, you look, you pace back the other way, you look, there's the door, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, as I'm pacing back and forth, just kind of getting in my mind right, I'm pacing towards the door, and all of a sudden the door just bursts open, and then in comes Zach Mercury and Kenny Omega, and I was just like, what the fuck? And then he's just like, Grizz, because like on the tour I was Grizzly Morgan, because for some reason Tony Condello thought I reminded him of a grizzly bear, so all of a sudden I became Grizzly Morgan as opposed to Sean Morgan. So he knew me as Grizz, and he's like, Grizz, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck you doing here? He's just like, I was really hoping that you were gonna be here. And then next thing I know, I think that we even did like a 6-man tag where it was me, Kenny, and Zach against Sin, O'Reilly, and Crazy Steve.
Oh wow!
But like it was like we kept in touch like a little bit afterwards. But then like once he kind of broke off into Japan, like we didn't really keep in touch as much. Like I'd send him the odd message and stuff like that. And I would still send him the odd message and stuff like that afterwards, and just be like, yo, dude, like, just proud of you. Like, that's fucking really cool what you're doing and stuff like that. And the responses would slowly start to kind of not be there as much, because I'm sure that he probably gets a million of them, and I understand. But one thing I can tell you that I don't even know if this is a story that I've ever told, but there were 2 different times that I actually spoke with Kenny about coming to CrossFit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The first time I tried to offer him a match, and he was kind of like really like he wasn't really all that responsive, but then I kept replying to him, and I was just like, okay, look, like I know that you're on a whole other stratosphere of like level right now or whatever, right? I don't even know what your fee is. I was just like, but let's just talk. You know what I mean? Like, please at least just talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And then I would see that it would be seen. And I'm like, okay, listen, like I've got an idea that I really, 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 really want to do. And I understand that this is going to cost me more money, and I'll probably lose a bit of money on this, but I think that in the back end, I could potentially make it up. So please just talk to me. And then he was just like, I could see that he's seeing it again. And then all of a sudden I was just like, can I offer you money? And then he's just like, I don't know, man. And I'm like, wait, he replied. And then I'm just like, I sent an offer to him. So I sent him an offer, and I sent him like a financial offer, which was easily the highest I've ever sent anybody. And I told him what my idea was, and he just didn't reply. And then I found out afterwards that like his rate was so much more than what I actually offered. So I replied to him.
Yeah, it's hard to.
So I replied to him a few weeks later, and I was just like, hey, man, I just found out that what I offered you is kind of insulting to what your actual bottom line is. I apologize. I understand. No worries. No problem. I get it.
Yeah.
But the plan was I was going to bring him in, and he was going to wrestle Josh.
Oh, that'd be unreal. That would be unreal.
That I made a actual valiant effort to do that. I think I told Josh I was trying, but I'm sure that he probably was just like, yeah, that's not happening. And rightfully so, because it sure didn't. But there was a time that Kenny almost actually showed up, because I'm trying to remember who it was that canceled on me, because I've had so many different people cancel on me. But it was a real last minute cancellation. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And I was like, hey, remember that offer that I sent you to come wrestle for me? Would you take that to just come do an appearance? Like, show up, like you could sign autograph, make all the fucking, like you keep 100, like everything, like just do me the friend favor of just please just show up. You don't have to do a goddamn thing. We'll make sure that you're pampered, the whole shebang. And he was like, you know what, honestly, man, I would, but I'm busy this weekend. And I was like, ugh. So I was close, and it's certainly not happening now, just because AEW is a thing. And and he even told me that like the last time I kind of spoke with him that he's so busy with everything. That he has
I could imagine
right now. So like, just replying to messages is a lot harder to do, and just everything in general. You know what I mean?
And plus, he's got, like you said before, he's probably got 1 million people each day wanting something from him. So it's just so hard to reach out. I remember for years before he blew up, like it's when he was working Jersey All Pro as champ, I think. Sorry, my dogs are barking. But I remember the rumor was he lived in Winnipeg, but his girlfriend lived in Toronto, and he lived with her most of the time. So he was actually more local than we thought. Because I can't remember, maybe it was Julian in like the infancy of A1. We had talked about him because Bruno had been a huge Omega fan for years.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't for a bit. He won me over eventually, but Bruno was the original guy that was just like, Kenny Omega is like the fucking greatest. And I thought he was a little cartoony for me doing the Hadoken and stuff. I didn't love it. And then it was probably just a little before Ring of Honor started using him. I finally like caught bait, and I was just like, yeah, this guy's unbelievable. And he was, and just to see where he is now, like it's fucking nuts. I love that guy. I have 2 action figures of that guy. Like he is an actual draw to me. If he's on TV, I will go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah. And I'll admit, I've obviously got one of the Omega action figures. Now you've got 2 just because you got these scale rings. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Steve Brown, being one of my absolute best friends, runs NSW, and I try to give him as good of a deal as I can sometimes because he's a buddy, and I like wrestling. He promotes, and I'll work as cheap as I can for him. I'll donate time, whatever he needs, and he hates that I work cheap for him.
Right.
But let's be real. I can see, especially like in a pandemic, we're not making a ton of money, and I'm going to help him regardless. So he insisted. He's like, I don't know, because whenever he does pay me, he tries to take care of me as good as he can, but it's whatever he has at the time. Sure. So he said, what if I pay you in a real scale AEW ring, and that'll count towards a show? And I was like, you pay me in an AEW real scale ring, I'll count it towards the year.
Now, here's my question, because I saw that he's doing a giveaway for another scale AEW ring. Where the fuck is he finding these things? Because can he hook me up with one?
Okay, this is what happened. When they first went on sale on like Ringside Collectibles, he bought 2, one for me and one for him. Then he got them in the mail, brought them right to my house, and I put mine together.
Yeah.
And we both realized this thing is unnecessarily big. Like it is like it's not real scale for the it's so fucking big. And when he saw how big, like you can't store it anywhere. Mine's hanging on my wall because I have no room for it. It's literally like
it's a fucking dining room table.
Yeah, for real. Like I have I have a fireplace outdoors, like a propane fireplace. And the one day I had the guys over and I brought it out. It takes up the entire propane fireplace. Like I put it on top. It covers the whole thing. So when he saw how big it was, he wasn't in a giant rush to put it together because it's like there's nowhere to store this. So he just kept it, and then he finally said like, this is a great giveaway, nobody fucking has it. So he finally like realized this is a good kind of something to have bribe people for subscribers and stuff. So that's where it came from. It was from the same order.
You know what, which is funny enough, until you said bribe for subscribers, which is kind of what it is. I mean, that's kind of like the thing to do right now. I mean, just because it's certainly helping keep some type of interaction and stuff like that. Like, I mean, we've been doing that with like I've got a bit of a side gig project that we're doing that Brady put together called THT, where like me, him, and Matt Grant, we do like live unboxing podcasts and stuff like that. Like we do, it's essentially kind of what everybody else does in real life, except now we just do it on a podcast where it's just a couple of us buddies. We get together, we bring all of our toys, we fucking show them off, we talk some shit, and we have some fun. You know what I mean? And we talk about nerd stuff as opposed to having to just completely talk about wrestling. You know what I mean? And then we're doing other things now. Like, I mean, and dude, I was actually about to invite you on to the last one, but then it dawned on me that there was a lot of people already. But we're doing live fight companions now on my Twitch channel, and they're a fucking blast. Like, it's just everybody puts their UFC on TV, awesome. And it's just like we're all watching it, but like not on the stream or whatever. But like, it's what we would want to do anyway, except we can't really right now just because of everything that's going on. Yeah. I got to tell you, man, like on last Saturday,
that's one of the things.
I haven't laughed that fucking hard probably in like since the last time I've seen my friends. Am I getting choppy with you now because of your choppy ass internet?
As well. Oh shit, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, your internet got choppy there for a second and you froze on me. So I didn't hear a thing that you said. And then I was just like, did I freeze on you because of your choppy ass internet? And then all of a sudden you just went blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, I was.
No,
choppy.
It'll be mine. I got a Wi-Fi extender, but it's not good. But like my absolute favorite thing to do is hang out with my friends, have cigars. That's like the silver lining if everyone's into cigars and we can be like outside or something and just watching TV. Doesn't have to be wrestling. If it is, even better. But like, it's just the fucking best. And I understand how lame it sounds, but literally this summer I had guys over every Friday and Saturday night. I know there's a pandemic and we shouldn't have hung out, but like, it was the greatest summer of just easy hangouts. We didn't do anything crazy by any means, but like the laughs we had were unreal just because hanging out, cracking each other up, talking shit. It's the fucking best.
Yeah, it like in a weird way, it's funny because the way that we have to hang out now has kind of become how you do content. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's the wildest shit that like we're literally just catching up and having a cigar, but we're recording it. Yeah. So we can technically call this a podcast. And because we're both such lazy pricks, we're gonna both each call this a podcast, and we're gonna both call this fucking content. It's a great time. I know.
It's wild.
It really is.
But like, if the pandemic's taught me anything, it's kind of like, even when all this goes away and we can hang out, there's many times when like I want to hang out, but I don't really want to go anywhere. Right. And I think I'm gonna keep the whole, hey, what are you doing? You want to just kind of like live stream tonight, watch whatever, and just I've been doing that a lot. We'll just we'll watch something on IWTV and just hang out through a webcam. And it sounded lame a year ago, but now that we've been doing it so much, it's just kind of, it's an easy way of staying connected without anyone having to kind of like go out of their way.
Exactly. Like one thing I also started doing as well was I started doing this yesterday, but I decided that because like the Twitch world is something that I'm really new to, but I'm having so much fun with it. Because you can do more than just play video games on there. Like you do podcasts and it turns out that I can stream my crossbody shows on there. So yesterday I streamed Family Day Feud 3 and with the live chat and everything, like it's awesome just because I'm watching the show with the audience, which is great. People are popping in who are brand new, who haven't seen it before, which is great. And like everybody's kind of retelling their stories and memories, but then like everybody still kind of gets to chit chat and do all these things, and it's like, man, it's kind of like this really cool new way of being able to hang out and finally get to watch wrestling together again. And then as soon as I did that, I guess my joy for Twitch got Speedball super pumped to go and try it, because then he decided to get on Twitch, and then Uno helped him get all of his shit together. And then now he's having so much fun with it. So now the both of us are all fucking nerded out. And he's just like, hey, I saw that you're airing crossbody shows. He's like, would you like to maybe watch one together and we'll put it on Twitch? And I'm just like,
absolutely.
Fuck yeah, let's do that.
That's
like,
awesome.
Like Speedball, I adore that man as a human being. Like everybody knows how talented he is as a wrestler, but I'll always be super grateful for what he did for me and then for our company. Like that match that he had with Del Bruno and Tyler, probably like a year in or so, really helped, I think, solidify our company. And then oddly enough, it turns out that he, as far as like, the main shows go, he just so happens to be in the final match that Crossbody has at the moment until things start to clear up again and we can find a new building and all that stuff, and hopefully start to, get back to business. But so he's really cool. Like, I mean, he's a guy where I literally, like 2 weeks ago, I was having like literally the worst migraines of my fucking life. Like it hurt to exist, and I had to teach. I had to teach an online class just because that's what we've been doing for our students, right? So we're like 15 minutes away from class starting, and I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know what to do. And for some reason, I just had the idea. I'm like, I'm just gonna message Bailey and see if maybe he wouldn't mind breaking down some film for my class. And I was like, hey, what are you up to right now? Like, do you want to break down a match for my class in a Zoom meeting? Because like I'm fucking dying here. And he's just like, yes, I would love that. And like a gangster. And I'm like, well, what match do you want to watch? He's like, give me 5 minutes. And then next thing you know, he finds this like I can't remember the name of it, but like it was this women's Japanese match, and I'd certainly never seen it before. And it was just badass, man. And it was like this complete different perspective on wrestling than what everybody's used to, but at the same time ties in what you're supposed to know, but it's just like a great other perspective. You know what I mean? So he's just been like,
he's one of the few guys. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize. He's just he's one of the few guys that, like, whenever I talk to him about wrestling and putting matches together, because we've worked a ton, he kind of comes at something at a level I'm totally unaware of. Like, we like the same wrestling, we kind of think the same, but how he puts matches together and builds up the drama and everything, it's just like, I feel like it's my first day when I listen to him. I had a match with Aiden Prince about a year ago, and he watched it and he was giving us pointers afterwards. And I was just like, I was asking him how he puts together his false finishes, because his false finishes always actually end in the crescendo. Whereas that's what I tried to get to, but it's very hard. And he kind of just spelt it out for me in such an elementary way of how he does it. And I was just like, holy shit.
It makes you feel stupid.
Yes, exactly. I almost wish I didn't have to talk with him because I felt so retarded. But it was just like, it was just that light bulb moment of just, oh, that's it. He just spelt it out in that idiot logic for me that rang true.
Which is crazy that you're saying that, because when he was last down for us, him and Veda came down for the weekend. When he found out that we had a showcase series show the day before, he was just like, hey, what the fuck? And I'm like, what? He's just like, you can we not do these? And I'm like, oh, it's a little different than you'd think. I was just like, it's, everybody kind of gets like gas money at best, just because like it's a $5 at the door, and like I literally just take whatever we make at the door and kind of like literally just disperse it. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. So I can't do that to you and Veda. And he's like, well, we're doing a seminar the day before, correct? And I'm like, or the day afterwards. I'm like, yeah. He's like, let us do a 2-day seminar. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, me and Veda would like to work with we want to work with the people who show up the first night and do the best in the seminar. I was like,
that's awesome.
And it's hilarious when dealing with some people, when they're just kind of like, oh, I need this, I need to do this, I need this, blah, 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 blah. And like some people are real, very businessy, and, rightfully so. Everybody's got to handle their own shit. But then you've got guys like Bailey, who's literally one of the best in the fucking world at what he does, and is just like, can I come down and work your student show?
Yeah. It's humbling, man. It's just like, If he doesn't have a head, nobody should, right? At the end of the day, we're just fake fighting. So let's not get wrapped up in ourselves here.
Couldn't have said it better, man, because I was just telling somebody this today. It's just like, I almost miss not having wrestling for the sole purpose of, I know that, like, I enjoy a good ass kicking every once in a while because it humbles me and then it reminds me that I'm not shit and none of us are shit. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care who you are. None of us are shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So it's nice to kind of just be humbled enough to remember that, but still have that work ethic to make it, like, to make you drive and work harder. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, completely.
So in a weird way, like, I mean, I miss the physical ass whooping as opposed to maybe like the financial ass whooping that potentially we're all kind of dealing with at the moment just because of all of this stuff. But
yep.
Hey, it is what it is. And an ass whooping's an ass whooping, right?
Can I pick your brain about, there might not even be much of a story here.
Yeah, there's not much brain there, trust me.
Your last show was supposed to be Alex Shelley versus Del Bruno. And like,
yeah,
could you just go into like contacting Shelley? Because I'm sure Shelley's aware of Bruno and whatnot, like just all of that. Because
I'll be happy to go over. I'll be happy to go over the entire process with you. So I realized as I was showing up to the venue the day of Family Day Feud 4, which was our last show, because I was so confident that I had put together, and you know that I'm the kind of guy that, like, I will shit all over my work and whatever, you know what I mean? I was so confident that I had put together the perfect show. And it was only up to me to fuck it up because I was the production guy. Like, everything as far as, like, not just the matches, but the match order, the way that the stories were, the way they had been built up to, the way that it was just the flow, everything, the way that I had everything envisioned in my mind from a production perspective, everything. It was for me to fuck up. And there was only one thing that got fucked up, which was the breaker went out on us because when Danhausen's entrance, when I was trying to do it, I pumped too much into the building, electricity wise, with like the lights and the smoke machine and all that stuff. So it broke on me. So thankfully we were able to get it fixed, but like, it didn't have the cool effect that I wanted it to. But that's another story for another day. But it dawned on me, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing next month. I don't even have a main event. Like, I was so like, I got this.
Focused on that.
I'm like, fuck. So at this point, I'm like, with all due respect to the guys, because like I knew that the March show that we were going to have Albright versus Fuerza, like that's where we were going. And they were going to have their big 2 out of 3 falls match, which we had been building to for about 10 months at that point, right? And I was like, hey, I know that that's a draw, but like our company's kind of starting to get to that point where like it needs that extra little bit because like I feel like the fans like deserve it and like we've kind of built that reputation. So I'm like, fuck. So I'm like starting to reach out to feelers, and the next thing I know, I'm in touch with Uno, and I don't even know how I am. But the next thing I know, Uno's just like, oh no, okay, hang on, I got to preface this even further. So I took a fucking total shot in the dark. And I emailed Alex Shelley, like right when I realized that I had fucking nothing. I was like, hey man, like you could probably tell me to go fuck myself. I don't know if you're interested in working in Canada or whatever. I'm just like, but you know, I've got an idea. This is what I'm thinking. And if it interests you, please let me know because I would really love to discuss it with you. And I told him straight up that I wanted him to come down and wrestle Del Bruno. And I didn't hear from him. So that's when I got in touch with Uno, I was just like, fuck, okay, I got something. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. And then like, I was so excited to get him. I was just like, who do you want to wrestle? He's like, give me Wheeler. I was like, done. And I was just like, okay, cool, no problem. And then I'm like, okay, I got my cake now. You know what I mean? I'm cool. Now we got a fucking show. We're ready to fucking rock. And then I'm announcing matches. And then all of a sudden my phone goes off and his shoot name pops up on my fucking email. And I'm like, and he's just like, hey man, I'm completely paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly, but it was something to the effect of like, hey man, I'm interested. I just need you to tell me what like you can offer me, because like I have a set rate and it's a set rate. I need you to tell me how you're going to get me there. Like he basically, it was a negotiation at this point. Like this was the first like real ass negotiation that I had ever done.
Yep.
And this was like weeks of negotiation now at this point. So I'm like, I can't afford you like at this point. Cause like I dumped all my money into all like Uno and all this other stuff. I was just like, but here's what I have. Like, I don't want to go into that stuff, but regardless, we were able to negotiate a deal where we were both happy. We were both satisfied. I think genuinely that Del Bruno being a part of the deal was the reason why he took the deal that we made, which would have gotten him his thing, but it was just a bit of a different way to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I told him that it was Del Bruno, his exact quote to me was, dude, Del Bruno's fucking sweet and I would love to do that. And when he sent me that, I screen capped it immediately. And then when I realized that we were like about to say yes, that he was about to do it, because I had told literally nobody about this at this point. When I was like, oh my God, like he basically said to me, he's like, hey, if you can make this and this happen, I'm going to say yes. And I was like, hey, I'm making this and this happen. Is your answer yes? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I always want to make confirm. But I was like, hey, I met his fucking thing. So at this point, I'm like, oh, I hope I don't jinx it. But I'm like I'm bursting, right? It's like, I'm about to do for my friend. Like, I'm about to literally make this fucking guy's life. Like, this is like, a lot of people don't get this. Like when I told people this, when I announced it, I'm like, I don't think people believe me. Like, I've never, ever heard Del Bruno ever say, I want to go wrestle for the WWE. I never heard him say, I want to do this. I want to do this. It was always, I just want to wrestle Alex Shelley. That was the only fucking thing that he ever wanted in his entire fucking wrestling career. So when it dawned on me that like, man, I've gotten to face the stuff that I said that I always wanted to do. Like I got to kind of do it. And like, it made a man out of me, because it was just like, you want these things, but do you really? Because facing that is a completely different fucking story. So
it's true.
I was just like, oh man, like when he said that to me, I was like, okay, fuck it. Alex, you got to call me right fucking now. And then I think he was at work, and he called me, and I was just like, hey, you sitting down? It's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I don't freak the fuck out, but I'm going to text you something. Okay. I've got you an opponent for March. And then I texted him the thing, and it was cool. It was cool to hear his reaction.
Oh, I believe it.
I won't forget.
Like,
and then I was just like, okay.
I remember when.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, please. By all means. Like what? Like how did you feel when you?
I remember. Well, I was fucking like thrilled, because he's unbelievable. He's influenced me so much, but he's influenced Bruno even more, and I'm influenced by Bruno as well, right? Like, so it was huge. And like, Shelley's been on and off wrestling for years, and then he was finally like, he started back up again like a year or two ago, but it was very select. So it was almost like it wasn't going to happen with him being back anyways. And then when Bruno finally told me we fucking lost it, I immediately realized I have a fucking show that day, and it was a show I couldn't get out of because I would have.
Which, to speak to that, because that's actually kind of part of the story here, is that, and I apologize for cutting you off, but
no, don't worry.
When it was a couple of days, like when I told Bruno that this was going down, then the waiting game, then it was another couple of days, and then I was just like, fuck. And then I finally got the email where he's just like, good. And then I was just like, Matt Grant, make me this motherfucking graphic right fucking now. And I'm like, he's like, what? I'm like, shut up now. And then like, it took him like 2 hours to do. And like that whole 2 hours, I was just like, hurry the fuck up. I gotta announce this shit. And then like, when he finally got it to me, it was like one of those, like, I thought I was going to be able just to fucking go right away and do it. And as soon as he sent it to me and I looked at it, I broke because I was like, it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking real. And I was like, man, it's not too many times that you get to do things for your friends like that. And I was just like, fuck, I'm so happy for him. And like, I'm so happy that I get to be the fucking guy to help him do this. And especially for everything that he's done for me and for my company. And I fucking will never forget when I dropped that announcement, because like I made sure to, because I kind of had an idea how I wanted to announce it. I pulled him from the match that he was announced, and I was just like, this is some serious shit, and I'm going to explain why later, but I just kind of need to gather my thoughts. But Del Bruno's out. So then I even was getting messages from people that were just like, oh shit, like what the fuck happened? And I was just like faving everything. So then that way I put up like this really nice like written thing where I was just like, you know, pretty much what I said. I was just like, you know, there's certain times in every man's life where you say you want something and it becomes a dream, but you have to one day man up and face that as a reality. And here we go. And it was one of those announcements that like even people who I know don't necessarily care for me all that much were retweeting and kind of giving me the old like tip of the cap. Not that it was about me, but it was just one of those things where for our crew, regardless of where we're at in life now, the crew from where we were back then, we all kind of had a moment where we were just like, hey, we did it for our friend. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's a great way of putting it. And
it was weird because like there were like out of our kind of group of people from back then, like, I mean, that we're all super friendly. We're not as, we've all grown apart a bit, you know what I mean? We're all still together, but have certainly grown apart some. And that was cool. Like that was really cool. And that to me is, and if I'm being completely honest with you, that to me is the biggest thing that has been like the biggest travesty of this entire fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound absolutely stupid because of like a fucking wrestling match, it not happening is like the biggest thing for you. Well, yeah, unfortunately it is, just because I know how much that meant to that guy, and that guy means a lot to me. So therefore, yeah, that fucking sucked.
I just I think I'm an optimist anyways, so I'm just always gonna think as long as they're both wrestling, there's always a chance. And I know Bruno's not stopping anytime soon, and I'm sure Shelley's got a lot left in the tank just because the style he wrestles is a longevity style. He's not a big bumper. A lot of movement. It's not like he's taking crazy bumps though. So
believe me,
I'm holding out hope.
I am too, because I genuinely would like to think that if everything goes back to normal and we're able to do it, I would like to think that he would, you know. And I'm at the point now where I'm sure that somebody else is going to try to make that happen and potentially try to snake it just because they now understand it's a reality. And you know what? I don't give a fuck. Like I really don't. It's not about me. It's about Alex.
It's about the match.
It's about that. And like whoever fucking hosts it. And I legit, if it's the dirty company that I would punch in the mouth if it was a fucking human being, I would literally buy a ticket and sit first row to fucking be.
Well, just to give some backstory on like Bruno and Shelley. So he's been influenced them by forever. When Alex Shelley worked UWA, he had a black bandana. He'd come out with his entrance. He threw it to the crowd. Alex caught it one night. He still fucking has it. He used to wear it to the ring years and years and years ago. And then we did a show in New Jersey a long time ago, 12 years ago. And Bruno had to pull out, not last minute. He just couldn't make it. And Shelley was on the show, and it fucking killed him. So at that show, we were all so young, but like we caught the nerve to go up and talk to Alex Shelley. And we were just like, hey, our buddy Alex was supposed to be here. He could make it. And we were just like, he fucking idolizes you. He loves you, but not in a Mark way. Like it's a true tribute. And if you saw his work, like you'd be proud of it, your mannerisms and stuff. Now he's ripped off by everyone, so it's not such a big deal. But back then it was a little more few and far between.
Absolutely.
And so we got him to call Alex. And Alex didn't pick up his phone, so he leaves the funniest message, be like, I'm with your boys, and they tell me all you fucking do is rip me off, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like fucking going in on him hard, right? But like, it's obviously a joking way. And then I probably shouldn't say this, but he drops a really funny derogatory term at the end that made it even funnier at the time. That was more welcomed back then than it is now. I don't have to say the word, but like, it was just the funniest thing. And Alex kept it on his phone. He beat himself up forever when he didn't pick up the phone that day, but he kept the message forever. And then I worked a Smash show where Shelly, oh, is that allowed?
I'll unbleep this one. I'll let it happen.
Okay. I won't say it again. I worked a show with Alex Shelley in a Toronto promotion, and Shelley worked Psycho Mike that night, actually. And they had a fucking killer match. And Bruno wasn't booked, but he came with me because Shelley was on. Mm-hmm. And so I went out. I worked it just on the show. I can't remember who it was, but then I went to Shelley afterwards. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember this, but fucking 10 years ago in New Jersey, you left the match. And he immediately remembered. And he was so cool. So I was just like, he's upstairs. Can I bring him down and you guys talk? And they just like, we're just talking and having a great time. So like, there's a rapport there, and like they definitely know of each other. And if you've seen a minute of Alex's work, it's nothing to laugh at. You know, there's a lot of people that do tributes to guys that it's just like, I really wish you wouldn't. Alex isn't that fucking guy.
No, he's pretty cool like that. The biggest thing, and that I wanted to get to, just because you'd mentioned that you'd had a booking that day regardless, but once I announced it, I immediately messaged you because I was just like, hey, listen, like I have no money to offer you because my money's gone. I'm like, but I know that you're going to be there regardless. I'm like, but do you want to, I wanted you to walk out with them just to be like a corner man for them, like just in your fucking street clothes. You know what I mean? I thought that would have been kind of neat just for you to be there, like not necessarily a part of the match. I'm sure they probably would have made you a part of the match, which would have been kind of even cool, but I don't know. I thought that was, especially just because of where it would have been on the card, just because again, that was actually a part of the negotiation.
Right before our intermission. No, that's awesome. Like, I remember when Alex messaged me about it, we marked out for a while, but then we almost like we changed our opinion because we both got super nervous because we hold this guy in such high regard. And it was just like, we almost approached it like, you got to go into fight camp, buddy. Like, we got to get to HPW 3 days a week. Tuesdays we're practicing just like British lucha rosu. Then we're doing like some lucha, and then we're doing high fly, and then just like we were breaking it down what we had to do. Like, let's get conditioning in order. Like, we were gonna like that Bruno's the best anyways, but he was gonna be another level that night.
Yeah, and he even said, he's just like, once he realized what he was kind of getting himself into, like he even said to me, he's just like, pretty much the same thing. He's just like, I'm about to go pretty much into fight camp right now. And he's just like, I promise you, he's just like, I will be better than I have ever been that night. And I was just like, I'm not the guy you got to sell that to. I'm already sold. I'm spending the money. So don't worry. Like I got you. You just show up and you make this whatever it is that you have always wanted this to be. Cause that's really the only thing that's that you have to do at this point, you know, like, I know that he's been prepping for that match his whole life. So hopefully we can fucking get that for him again, man. Because honestly, like it's one of those things where it makes me so happy that we had it, and then I'm just like, fucking. It'll happen,
and if for some reason it doesn't happen, I'm just gonna chalk it up. This is easy for me to say too, but I just chalk it up to it wasn't meant to happen. Then maybe they wouldn't have clicked. Maybe the chemistry would have been off. So, but. If it ever is to happen, I'm sure it's going to be fucking great. There's no way it won't be.
No, there's not. Now, I know that we said that we were only going to do an hour, and we're about an hour and a half here. I don't really care. We're swapcasting. We're just killing time, catching up, and I'm loving chatting up with you here. But I did ask a few people earlier in the day if they had any questions for you, because
You actually got questions?
I got a couple, yeah. Now I have to preface
When I send out the feeler for questions, I never get questions.
See, you got to do, you got to do it in the Instagram, and you got to put up the question box because
it's right there.
It is. Now, actually, shit, I'll get to the one that you actually saw, which man, maybe this is why you don't really get a lot of questions, because the moment I put that up there, Vertigo wanted to know, I would love to hear about wrestling in none of it and all the merch money he made. And the direct response to that is you paid off and maxed out Visa. It's like, no, that's the podcast story. That's a spoiler, bro.
Well, I can go a little more deep into it, but that is it. Like I think I had a $2,000 Visa limit at that time, and it was maxed out. And I kept getting told these Nunavut tours, like there's no entertainment up there, right?
Yeah.
So any entertainment they get, if you bring merchandise, they're all about. And I was a big baby face at the time, and I always had, when I was a baby face with the hacker gimmick, I always just had a very marketable gimmick. I think I really hit the nerve with the nerd community, because that's how I kind of went with. Yeah, the glasses was a big thing, and like nerd culture is like popular culture now, and
huge.
It wasn't
and you
always.
Got it,
I think
you got it at the right time.
Just hitting that rise. Yeah. I think I was just like, it was cool to be a bit of an outcast and that guy. And it's funny because I don't consider myself a nerd at all, but I played the character well, luckily. So I just had a bunch of T-shirts, those glasses, and 8x10s. But I remember when the card got put together, it was me and Brent Banks, I think both nights or 3 nights, whatever it was. And I had asked the promoter at the time, like, hey, can I go right before intermission? For the obvious reason of I wanted to sell merch. And Brent at the time was the Arctic champion. I think that's what it was called. It was a belt that the promoter in Nunavut made. Yeah. It was a belt that was it the promoter? Yeah, it must have been made just for these shows, because Squared Circle used to do them as well.
Right. Oh, so it's kind of like that fucking belt that Braun Strowman has from Saudi Arabia.
Exactly the same.
All right.
And it was like, I think it was first night I either get cheated out of it, and then it goes to the rematch for the next night I win it or something like that. But it was like something happened with a dusty finish. I get cheated out of it. And then I marched all the kids right to the merch table. Like literally match ended and I just walked them right over and I sold a ton. And then I think the next night when I won the title, now I had this bribe where you could come buy my merch and hold my belt and get a picture and stuff, right? I'd let them take a picture with the belt for no money anyways, but like they don't get anything up there. So if they could buy a new T-shirt, you could sell it. And like any wrestler knows, you don't undercut anybody.
No.
And we were told like 8x10s were selling for like $25. Shirts were selling for like $50. So it was just like,
what?
You were making mad money. Yeah, it was a total upsell, but they didn't know any better, I guess. It's terrible to say, but that was just, we all went along with that plan. And I brought an entire suitcase just full of merch, and I think I sold it of everything. And it was funny because me and Brent shared a room that weekend, and that one night, I think it was the last night, I came back, and me and Brent, I just want to say, Brent's the fucking best. I just throw that out there. Best wrestler, best person. He's just great. And we get back and I have like so much money. It's coming out of all my pockets and stuff. And I was like, I owe you a cut. And Brent refused to take a cut, like refused. So I hope I bought him a meal at the airport or something. I don't fucking know, but
you killed it.
I'm like, can I take a super mark picture that you don't judge me for? And Brent's the best. He's like, yeah, of course. What do you want to do? And I just emptied all my money on the bed. Like, and it was a ton of money, and took a picture for it. I think it's still on my Instagram. I think it was only from one night though. And I was just like, I just got to take a picture because this is the biggest superstar I'll ever fucking feel. Like, I just want to document it. And so we just laughed at me, like getting a bird's eye view on the mattress, taking a picture down of all the money. And yeah, I paid off my entire Visa bill, and it was just the fucking best. Brent's the best. None of it was the blast.
That's fucking sweet. Our boy Chops has a question for you.
Yeah.
And I kind of giggled when I saw it, but I was just like, I know there's actually more to it. But he's like, how did he come up with the hacker character? And you didn't.
No, I did. It's a blatant ripoff. Blatant. I used to go to Neo Spirit Pro Wrestling shows right when I broke in and right before with my dad. And I always loved the original hacker. He was a much better wrestler than me. The myth is he was supposed to be in Team Canada in TNA originally, but he got married at the time and he quit wrestling. But he is phenomenal.
I can tell you that that's not a myth. That's true.
Okay, that is what happened. Okay.
Yep.
And it's hard to find his stuff now because not everything's like as documented as it was then. But he was incredible, and he was in a tag team with Jace Fury called Silver Rush Fusion. Actually, years ago, I got Jace Fury inspired gear made. It was in like LLW time with like they were the bikers with the tassels. It was so bunk because I got a girl from high school to make them for me. But like, I was always influenced by that tag team, and I was talking to Bill Scullion on Facebook one night, and just talking like I was just Scotty O'Shea, the nobody. And I was like, I just need something. And at that time, I think we had just gone to see Avatar in theaters. And I kept those 3D glasses. And I think I had the lens popped out. And I was just wearing them in my profile picture. And he said, your profile picture reminds me of Josh, Hacker. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I love Hacker. I fucking love that guy. He's like, you should do it. And I was like, what do you mean do it? He's like, he doesn't fucking wrestle anymore. Just fucking steal it. So I was like, I thought about it and I was like, that's something I could actually like sink my teeth into, being an undersized wrestler at that time. I was like, I think I could make a run at that. So I reached out to Josh and I asked him, and he was so fucking cool with things. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Do what you can. So I always tried to be promoted as Hacker Scotty O'Shea because he was the hacker. I know it's a little thing, but like it was a blatant ripoff. I just tried to give him that little bit of credit. Yeah, it might be dumb, but it was just my way of just being like, I'm not the hacker.
I always caught it. So like, if anything, like, I mean, the people who knew caught on to it immediately because
that's all.
I knew Josh for quite a while to the point where like, you know, like him and I were pretty good buddies back in the day. So much so like, you know, we've kept in touch, and we found out like probably about a year ago, we fucking live in the same city. So
really?
I don't know if you know this or not, but the last cross body show that we did, the Family Day Feud 4, he was there.
Oh, no kidding, eh? We were, do you remember the other Kitchener promotion? I'm not going to say its name because I got sued there, but oh
yeah, I forgot about that.
I was in a feud with I was in a feud with another one of your favorites who shall go unnamed.
Go ahead. I don't give a shit. We're in a giving mood. I don't know. Maybe I'm different.
You know what? I'm not gonna say because stuff has gone down since then. I'm not gonna say it.
I know who you're talking about. You know what? Good call. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yep.
You can do your research. I've said it before, but enough times passed. I don't think I need to bring it up. But we were in a feud, and it came down to one of the blow-off matches was. Oh, I hope I don't fuck this up. It was glasses, ladder match, but my glasses were up for grabs. It's because we got the original hacker involved, and he sided with the other guy, I believe. And if the other guy was to win and pull down the glasses was just like a piece to signify the hacker gimmick. Sure. I would have to give up the gimmick because I had stolen it. So we did have a bit of a like program going together, and I remember hoping it was going to go somewhere. I don't know if he ever wanted it to.
I was going to say a great idea in theory.
Yeah. Because he could probably still work circles around me. I think he just, he came to hang out one day, got talked into sitting around and being part of a show. And it's hard to say no to that. And, but yeah.
He was really hesitant to come to my show. And I explained to him, I was just like, you have to understand, I'm not asking you to do a fucking thing other than come and enjoy. And if anybody asks you to do anything, you tell them that I personally said to fuck right off because I'm the boss here. So I'm telling you straight up, you have nothing to do other than sit and enjoy the show with your kids.
And it's a hard thing because all it takes is one or two bumps to really get the itch back. And then this little side hobby of yours takes up so much time and you're just so invested into it. It's almost like if you're out and you want to stay out, it's better not to be involved at all. So I understand, like, I couldn't dip my toe in the water because I know I'd dive right back in. So, well,
here's the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't even know if you know this or not, but he had come down to the gym, excuse me, with his kid after the show or before the show. I can't remember what it was, but he asked me the one night, he's like, hey, would you mind if I brought my kid down just to show them the ring and stuff like that? And just to kind of show them what dad did. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, take all the time you want in the world. go show off to your kid. Like, please do. So he got in there, hit the ropes, took a few bumps, you know what I mean? And because I had talked to him about an idea that I had actually had. Like, I was just like, hey, I mean, if you want to be involved, like, I actually got this idea, but not for you to wrestle. Like, it's just for you to be a part of it. And I think that it would be kind of cool to have you on the shows in this particular role, just so that way you can kind of like pass some knowledge down. You know what I mean? Like, that's no harm, no foul. Your kids get to see you perform. You don't have to wrestle. It's great.
Yeah.
So I was actually going to have him, and when I pitched him the idea, he's like, nah. And then he got in, took a few bumps, and he's just like, all right, what are we gonna do? But do you remember the last time you worked for me? I want to say, because I remember that I think we agreed on, it was like 2 or 3 dates or something like that, and you did them all, and it was all fine and dandy and stuff like that. But you were really focusing on this, this newer version of the hacker gimmick, and I was just like, I want to do it justice, and I really want to figure out like some like cool production for it and stuff like that. Like kind of similar to what I did with Albright, but just different, right? And I was actually going to do this thing where I don't want to give too much away, but you two were going to end up in a program where like he was essentially going to be like the Undertaker Dark Side Ministry version, and it was because like that whole thing that you do like this, I was gonna tell us cool stories. It's like, what is this? Like, who are you doing it to? And then eventually have him come cloaked out doing this, and then it's like you kneel down to him, and that's your dude that you've been doing it through the whole fucking time.
That's fucking awesome. That is awesome.
That was what I originally had, and I was just like, fuck. And then it just dates weren't lining up, and then it wasn't gonna. That was one of those things where when just kind of like what you said, it was just like it wasn't destined to happen. But
yes, exactly.
But hopefully by the time things go back to normal, people will forget this podcast, which I'm sure they probably will. Thank you, everybody, and maybe we'll do that.
End of the day, though, the gimmick is just a blatant ripoff. That is all it is, and I'm okay with doing it.
Hell yeah. All right, so now we got just a couple more questions left. They're from Instagram here. I got 2 from Puff.
Of course.
Okay, hang on. His first question, why does he always have to be such an insufferable douchebag?
You know, some people are born and bred for greatness, and I'm not one of them. That's why.
All right. Question 2. Why is he so homophobic?
You know, my uncle molested me like 10 or 12 times. And since then, it's been hard for me not to have a bitter taste in my mouth about it all. That's all. I'm curious why, Puff asked me these questions. I ask him why he has a swastika tattooed on his back. It's just a back and forth.
Okay. Hang on. Who do I got here? Oh, our dude Chris, who's been like really helping us out, and he's been really enjoying the Twitch streams that we've been doing here lately. He has a question for you. And it's actually kind of funny. He says, if you couldn't be wrestling anymore, what would you do with your spare time? So essentially what he wants to know is, what have you been up to this last year?
That's scary.
Married, fucking slipping him past the goalie.
Yeah, I've been shooting live rounds, that's for sure. Not wrestling. This is a weird thing I've been playing with, and it'd be interesting to talk to you about it. And I don't mean to get long-winded.
No, it's
but
good. Talk.
Like, I love wrestling more than anything. My wife knows it's above her. That's been an understanding forever. It's like, it just is. I feel like it's my oxygen I breathe. I just love it. I have for fucking years. It's my everything. I spend hours watching, studying, thinking. Everybody that's a wrestling fan probably understands it. But over this, I've kind of realized by looking at social media, like, I truly love wrestling, but I do understand there is more to life than wrestling.
Yes.
And whether it be family, friends, whatever, other hobbies, I don't know what I would do without it, but I am certain I would find something. But there are people online, wrestlers in our community, that I almost worry for, because it's almost like they have nothing else, and this quarantine has like hit them incredibly hard. And even with wrestling, the most successful wrestlers have a small window, and that window will close at some point. And I honest to God worry what they'll do if that was to ever happen. It seems like we're on the back end of everything and everything's going to slowly get back to normal. But I think it's important for people to find like a reason to wake up in the morning without wrestling all the time. It's weird to say, because for me, I don't know what mine is. I just know I could find something. But a lot of guys...
I could tell you immediately what it is without you even realizing it, because you've been doing it before you got into wrestling. Podcasting is your side mistress. And
yes,
the reason why that is because it is a creative outlet for you that nobody else can touch. And at the same time, you've been doing it for long enough at this point that I'm sure, because I've realized the same thing, because like when I first started doing the podcasting stuff, my mindset on it has drastically changed from when I started like 4 or 5 months ago to where I'm at now. It becomes like this thing where you almost challenge it. Like, it almost doesn't make sense that you can have this much fun doing something and other people will listen to it and enjoy it. And especially right now, where a lot of people are stuck at home and a lot of people have way more free time than what they're used to, even if they are working, you know what I mean? Like, for example, ever since I started running crossbody as a promotion, I think and I'm not kidding, I think maybe I was lucky to get 4 weekends off a year, because between shows and like that I was doing, between all the work that we've been doing, like with Rock Solid Wrestling, and then like my other little bookings that I would like sprinkle in between, I'm sure that probably surprises people to hear how busy that I've actually been over the last few years, because maybe it's not something but like, it's weird. Like, I can't promote shows that I do for Rock Solid Wrestling because my friends in Hamilton aren't going to fucking Sudbury and all these little hick-ass towns that we go to every weekend. So it's funny that, because for the longest time, I remember I didn't see Tornado for years. And then when I finally caught up to him, I was just like, what the fuck have you been doing? He's like, I've been wrestling this whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wait, how? I've never heard of it. He's just like, well, just because you don't hear it doesn't mean it's not happening. I was like, oh.
That's a big one.
I get it. That and there are two big things that I've learned. That, and as stupid as it sounds, just because it kind of ties in together, but this was kind of when it came to like promoting podcasts and stuff, because I would promote my podcast one time, and then I had somebody message me and they're just like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're just like, you upload your podcast, you tell people once, and then you just fucking leave it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't want to bombard people. He's like, do you think people live in your fucking world? Do you think everybody literally goes to your fucking Facebook to check every goddamn status that you put up? I was like, yeah, I guess so, huh? He's like, and do you think that every tiny fucking word that you type on the internet, everybody just and sees? I'm like, no. It's like, put your shit out there. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So as weird as it sounds, I've kind of learned like to balance all that stuff. But again, at the same time too, like it's almost like you challenge, like, how the fuck can this continue to be content? Like, I know that you've evolved, and like you do things with Steve and with Jeff, and that you got like you do like things with horror movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I know for a fact that there are probably wrestlers that look at you guys that are friendly to your face and talking so much shit about you guys behind your back for doing that stupid little thing that you do, just because they're like, these nerds that are talking about like whatever. And they're probably doing that because they're realizing like, oh, these three friends are literally talking about what makes these three dudes friends, providing content, and people are actually watching, while other people are trying to do things that are coming from their heart and putting all this effort into, and maybe not getting the same amount of views. It dawned on me really quickly, just because with the THT project that like me, Brady, Matt, and Princey was doing, we've been doing this for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden I saw it with my own fucking eyes. People that are like legit talking shit about us, they're like, oh, those guys are jokes. And it's just like, why? Because we get together and talk about toys, and we talk about the things that we fucking like. And we just so happen to like, and for some fucking reason, people tune in.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, we get more fucking views on the THT podcast than I do on this one. And I've been doing this one for fucking way longer. We literally started the THT thing like 3 weeks ago.
Dude, I have like 225 episodes of this fucking dog shit podcast.
Yeah.
Some of the downloads I get for some episodes, it's like, why do I do this? That's another issue I have, though, and it's interesting what you just said, and I've never thought about it like that. But I'm big on creativity and just doing things. I have to satiate that like nerve in me of that creative thing, because like we have a sunsetcrypt.com is a website we started 2 years ago, and we just review horror movies and we put articles. We've been making short films, and that's been putting a ton of energy. We've only released 2. We got another one coming out, but we have like 5 that are on the go right now. And then this podcast and whatnot. I'm a weird guy when it comes to, I'm big on like this podcast. I make no money from it because I don't try to advertise. I don't promote it at all. I just feel like I decided I was going to do this podcast, so I want to release one every week. So I've been like very strict on that. But as soon as I release something, I'm fucking done with it. I don't care if anybody fucking sees it. I don't care if anybody downloads it. It's weird. I really wish I wasn't like that. Because I just, because when you kind of look at the analytics of it, none of it makes sense why I keep doing it. And you're right.
I understand why you do that, though, because you're a wrestler, and your mentality as a wrestler is to go and do the show and then get to the next town. You're done with the match.
Yes.
So essentially, you take that same mentality with podcasting, and I understand that. But I'm also starting to realize that, you know, they're not the same thing. And you know, we always think that life is wrestling, because really, life is wrestling. You know, but there are some things but there are some things that, you know, you learn to kind of have to switch up if you want to try to pull in some other different things. And that was something that I realized that I needed to do differently. Was I needed to take, I needed to, especially for the podcast, I needed it to be a labor of love. Like I wanted it to be a weekly thing, and then all of a sudden it became work, and then I kind of hated the process. And then I was like, wait a sec, I feel like I'm having the same conversation over and over again. What the fuck am I doing? And then once the Autobahn tournament that I had that all booked, because I had a like this private TV taping book that was good to go with the local and provincial health officials that they approved and everything. And then it was a straw that broke the camel's back for me, where this was like the third thing that I had tried to put together legally, like with everything, like they were going to be there. Like we were going to set the fucking standard for how to try to put shows together during this entire thing. Had it set up, and then literally the people found out that the day that we were going to film the show was the morning that they were about to start, they were going to announce that they were going to start the lockdown. So I was just like, fucker. So then all of a sudden, like I was just so brokenhearted, because people don't understand how many times I've been this close to getting the gym back to normal, like the promotion back to normal. And then it just at the last fucking second, every goddamn time, like it just like everything got blown up on me. And the amount of work that I put into each and every single one of those, like, was just fucking heartbreaking. So when that happened, and I realized, I'm like, man, I don't think we're getting out of this anytime soon. I'm like, I gotta just get back to doing things that I can control. And then I started just like reaching out to different people, where I'm like, hey, like I want back in on this. So like, let's fucking go. And then like, I reached out to like my comedian buddy. I reached out to this person. I reached out to a bunch of different people. Like, and then Bob Evans was fucking sweet and did it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? People are totally cool to talk right now. And then next thing I know, like I'd sent TJ a message like a few weeks prior, and he's like, yeah, I'll do your podcast. But then he didn't like follow up afterwards. So I thought that it was kind of like politely brushing me off. And then hits me up. He's like, hey, when are we filming? I was like, you tell me, let's fucking go. And then next thing I know, I was like, I'll only take an hour of your time. I promise. Like, I don't want to fucking, I know you're a busy dude. And next thing I know, like an hour and 40 minutes later, I was just like, dude, I'm sorry. He's like, oh man, I'm so sorry that I'm been long-winded. And I'm like, this is fucking sweet, man. Like, this is just like, we literally before I hit record, I'm like, Hacker, we're going to do an hour. You cool? Yep. And look at us. We're like 2 hours fucking deep so far, you know? And then, but this just happens. Like, I mean, this is why
it's easy conversation.
It's easy conversation. And this is why I don't have a fucking format, is because, you know what? Like, we've been catching up and telling some pretty cool stories. Now, the final question isn't really all that much of a doozy. It's just happens to be the last question. He wants, this is from Ryan Young, who is an incredible financial advisor, by the way.
Oh, that's good to know.
Very good to know. Works for Sun Life. He actually was kind enough to do a seminar for not just our students, but for our roster, and to do us like kind of to help people out with, just it was a cool information session, and it was
that's cool, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. He just wants to know what your favorite sitcom is.
Oh, I hate to say it, but oh my God, I love The Office like so much. I know that's so fucking generic answer these days.
I've never actually seen an episode because I know that that's a show that if I watch an episode, I'm going to get hooked, and then I've got to sink, my teeth into that time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because I knew. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was watching it while it was on TV. I didn't start at the very beginning. I think I caught on about season 4. I watched it all through. It's the only TV sitcom that I really was like, get home to watch. And since then, since it was been on Netflix and stuff, no lie, I've watched the series through completely. I am not lying when I say this, 30 to 35 times fully. There's 9 seasons. All we do to this day, if we spend more than 5 minutes looking for a movie on Netflix, me and my wife just turn on the Office. But because that is such a generic answer, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to give some props to my Canadian heritage and say Kenny versus Spenny is my favorite sitcom. If you can call that a sitcom, it's more of a reality show, but my favorite TV show of all time. I love Curb. I love Seinfeld. There's a couple more I'm forgetting, but Kenny versus Spenny, all the episodes are on YouTube.
Didn't you get to do something with Kenny and Spenny, or am I mistaken about that?
Okay, so I did a House of Hardcore show in Toronto, and as we were coming in the back door, Spenny was just there because he was doing something that night. I don't even think he was booked. I think he was just coming because he knew Tommy Dreamer. And
he's really good friends with Murphy, Jan Murphy. Jan Murphy, sorry.
Oh, yes, you're right. And so we were just walking in, and it was like hours before showtime. Nobody's there, and I just recognized Spenny, and I was like, Spencer Nolan Rice, and he looks at me, and I was like, I'm your biggest fan. Can I get a picture? And I put my arm around him, and he put his arm around my shoulders, and I went low, and then we get the picture. I think that's on my Instagram as well. And I'm just like, thanks so much, man. That was great. And then he was involved with the show, but he's like, yeah, your hand was a little low on that picture. It made me uncomfortable. And I was like, my apologies, sir.
You probably pictured him.
And then I think Tarek and Tyson worked Spenny and somebody else at one of the Jan Murphy shows like 2 years ago or something. I was so jealous.
Yeah, I can imagine. I thought that was you, but maybe it was those guys there.
But yeah, just every episode's on YouTube, on Kenny Hotz's YouTube channel. I watch that all the time too. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I am so influenced by that dirty, lowbrow humor. I fucking love it. If you're gonna watch one episode, watch Who Can Blow the Biggest Fart. It is the funniest episode of anything ever. That show would never fly anymore. What they say, what they do, it's unbelievable, but it's worth checking out.
Oh, holy shit. Hacker, you got any questions for me, or you got anything you want to say before we wrap this thing up, or what?
Dude, thank you for doing this. We should do this more. We don't even have to record it. This was just good catching up. This was a real good time. Thank you so much for this. I'd say I didn't reach out for questions. I was really the number one thing when I was like, I'm doing a podcast with Ben. I was like, I'm going to talk to him about Omega. And then I told Alex, I'm talking to you. And he's like, ask him everything about Omega. And that's kind of what we covered. So,
well, hey, you know what?
I'll come in.
Let's do this again. Yeah, let's do this again, and we'll just fucking strictly have it on your show, man. Like, we'll consider this a swapper, but like, hey, any chance that we got to just fucking talk and call it content, I'm completely down, my man.
That's it, man. This was so fun. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who came and sent in questions.
And plug your stuff here quickly before we go.
I'm at Anti-Hero SOS on Twitter. I was going to say at Hacker Scotty. That is still an account. At Hacker Scotty is still an account. A fan's running it, and it's just making fun of me essentially all the time. It's fucking hilarious. I think everybody thinks I'm still running it, and it's not me. I know the guy who's doing it. He's not a wrestler. He's just a fan, but it's fucking hilarious shit.
Oh, that's great.
Anti-Hero SOS is me. Check out sunsetcrypt.com. That's for all our articles, short films, and whatever. Check out When Geeks Collide. Just support indie wrestling and everybody trying to provide content right now, because we're really trying.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. This little Swapcast here. your listeners, please find me on youtube.com/BigBenAF podcast, where you can find the video version of this if you want to see our ugly mugs while we're chatting. You can also find past episodes with guys like, again, TJ Wilson, Brutal Bob Evans, pretty much dropped a sweet little seminar on us, which was great. You can find RJ City, Madman Fulton. There's an array of awesome guests on there, and we're working on some more. You can also find me at twitch.tv/BigBenIsAngry, where we're doing our best to pump out as much daily content as possible between the THT crew, between myself, Brady Wedham, and Matt Grant. You can find me on all the socials at Big Ben is Angry, and the podcast at Big Ben AF Podcast across all the socials. I know I just dropped a ton of shit on you there, but that's
so professional.
That's the life of a promoter when he doesn't have any shows to promote. He just got to fucking just keep going. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
All right, brother. I fucking love you, and I'm glad that we got to do this. And I didn't even get to say congratulations on the child. And
thank you.
On when you do.
July 8th. It's actually due on her birthday, but I'm not getting my hopes up. If it comes out black, I'm out of here. All right. So I'm just saying, until we have proof that it's mine, I'm only crossing my fingers.
Hey, if it does, we already know that we can blame Lionel. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into both of our podcasts, and you guys have yourself a wonderful evening.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
We're wrapped.
That was a blast. Thanks, buddy.
That was so much fun.
I got to go piss so bad.
You go for it, man. Thanks again very much. And I'll probably have this.
Buddy.
Yeah, if you need me to send you the footage, let me know, okay? Otherwise, I'll probably have this up by tonight or tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy. That was a blast.
Later, pal.